Someone's already doing it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're on. Ready, set, go.
Okay. So yeah, the title. So first of all, thank you for everyone for coming over here. So the title and like Professor Ramlaj Aliseda for also agreeing to be a part of this committee. So the top title of my ME thesis defense is numerical investigation of combustion of liquid oxygen droplet in environment of hydrogen in microgravity conditions. And so the talk of today is structured in this format. So first I'll talk about the motivation and goals. Then I'll talk about the various system of equations that have been used. Then I'll talk about the chemistry schemes that have been utilized. Then we will move on to the results, discuss the results. And based on these discussions, we would like to conclude our talk with by recapping what all results we have obtained. And based on the results, we would like to make a few recommendations. So first of all, the question is what is the motivation of studying this topic? So the motivation stems from the fact that liquid oxygen and hydrogen are a very commonly used cryogenic propellants, and they are like extensively used for in rocket propulsion, primarily because of the high specific impulse which they impart. And typically, spray combustion process consisting of LOX droplets in hydrogen consist of liquid oxygen uh, in an environment of in hydrogen gas at the injection, and uh, H2 is more likely to be pre-vaporized in comparison to hydrogen, primarily due to the regenerative cooling of the rocket nozzle that happens. That being said, this system is primarily used a little less in comparison to solid propellants. The reason is because of the injection combustion chamber resonance that occurs, and that often leads to catastrophic failures. Uh, Moreover, the experimental results, which experimental as well as the numerical results which are there for this to model these problems are very limited, and as such, the experimental database is very much limited. So, the goal of this study is to kind of look at the single oxygen droplet in more detail so as to understand the combustion schemes, the behavior of the combustion of the droplet better, and to kind of develop an effective numerical model that could help us in solving the injector combustion chamber resonance problem better. Just to So this project is actually a collaboration between the German Center of Applied Space Technology and Microgravity, which is ZAM at University of Bremen in Germany, and UW. So here at UW, we are looking into the numerical modeling side of things, whereas the experimental research is carried out at ZAM. So just to show the complexity of the problems that is being attempted to solve here, I would like to show a few slides uh, of the experimental research which is being carried out at University of Bremen. So the experimental setup consists of three particular chambers, which the first of which is a combustion chamber, which consists of hydrogen gas and the oxygen droplet, liquid oxygen droplet, which comes into the combustion chamber via a suspender tip. This entire combustion chamber is surrounded by a jacket of liquid nitrogen, which acts as ensures that there's a effective cooling mechanism. And finally, this entire setup is surrounded by a vacuum container, which helps in thermal isolation. As far as ignition is concerned as for the experimental work, it is the ignition occurs via the plasma generated spark. Next is the drop tower experiment. So this drop tower experiment helps us to get the microgravity conditions. This is the drop tower facility in ZAM, which is one of a kind in the world because it allows us to effectively get twice the amount of microgravity uh, feature, which is the drop tower is 120 meters in height, and uh, it effectively works as we move the combustion chamber from via catapult system onto the top of the drop tower, which effectively takes 9.3 seconds, and then we drop the setup in a microgravity quality of 10.10 to the power minus 6 g, and this drop occurs for a time of 4.7 seconds. The video over here highlights how the drop occurs, so let us watch it once. One more time. Yeah, and then once we have the drop, we would like to study how the droplets igniting during this micro gravity condition. And this is a high speed shadowgraphy image of the entire droplet combustion process. Once again, so the droplet is getting uh, ignited at the suspended tip and then gradually receding over time. So finally, this is the droplet regression rate, or the familiar d square law, of which is kind of synonymous with any combustion process. And we can see that there is a strong correlation between the experimental values and the theoretical values. Uh, that being said, now let us look more towards the numerical problem which we are trying to model at UW. So the goal of the numerical model which we have developed is to determine the parameters of the droplet vaporization rate and droplet lifetime, and use these two parameters to plot the d square law. So schematically speaking, this is how the droplet combustion process looks like for the single oxygen droplet. Uh, we can as far as like experimental results are concerned, we used a plasma ignition spark to perform the ignition. But in case of numerical modeling, we will be using a superimposed temperature profile to ignite the droplet. Once the ignition takes place, this liquid becomes a vapor, which gets in form of vaporized oxygen, reacts at the flame surface or the flame front, which is where the reaction occurs. The liquid oxygen droplet is surrounded by hydrogen environment, and this hydrogen also interacts with this vaporized oxygen in the flame surface, which leads to the formation of water, which goes in both the right and left direction. So once the water goes towards the right, it has been observed at higher pressures. In some cases, water and even ice has formed. Whereas if water diffuses towards the left, we have seen the case of a water ice layer forming in front of the droplet. And once this water ice layer has formed and the droplet gets ignited, there have been instances of micro explosions which have been reported. All this being said, in this multiphysics problem, the goal of this numerical of this project is to model the flame surface in general, and to study the concentration of major species profile as well as the temperatures which we are observing. So talking about the goals, we want to develop a 1D numerical code, but we did not, but the approach was not to use an existing, not was not to develop an in-house code, but rather use an existing framework such as OpenFOAM to help us model the droplet combustion or behavior of liquid oxygen droplets in an hydrogen environment under microgravity conditions, and then use this particular framework to help us determine the vaporization rate, flame front location, and profiles of species and temperature. Then we also wish to establish whether or how much is OpenFOAM capable to model, whether it is able to model everything accurately, or are there some limitations which are there in OpenFOAM which needs to be which can be brought in front of the combustion community. And there was also a unique approach which we came up, which is the first of a kind in the world, which has not been utilized till now, which is to use the results which we obtain from OpenFOAM and couple it with a existing theoretical model, and and using this particular framework to determine the droplet vaporization rate, droplet lifetime, and the plots, and to plot the d square law. And finally, we wish to establish the best case of blowing velocity and the diluent concentration of helium gas in hydrogen for the ambient environmental conditions to run the OpenFOAM simulations. The the last goal is primarily because when we run the simulations in pure hydrogen conditions, the adiabatic flame temperatures and the major species profiles get over predicted by a huge amount, and most of those values are impractical. So this is one approach which we decided was to use hydrogen along with a inert gas to model and determine the best case scenario, which could help us in understanding the process better. That being said, the following assumptions have been made for developing the numerical model. Firstly, the droplet has been assumed to be spherically symmetric and the entire overall configuration is axisymmetric. The process is quasi-steady. We haven't accounted for the effects of radiation, turbulence, condensation, and freezing around the droplet. We also haven't considered convective flow, and simplified chemistry schemes have been used to model the computation for uh, running the for capturing the species dynamics as far in the computational domain. Then we haven't considered the non-equilibrium effects, surface tension effects, and the gravitational effects. For the gases, ideal gas properties have been assumed. And inside the droplets, we are assuming there is no fluid motion and the properties remain uniform over time. Uh, Next up, we will talk about the process geometry and how we are determining the the shape of the computational domain from this. So what essentially happens is we have this slide especially talks about the process geometry. We have a liquid oxygen, which is represented by this region. We have gaseous oxygen, which is surrounded by this, which surrounds this liquid oxygen. Then you have the flame front. Then this particular cloud represents the region of reaction products, and then this is entirely surrounded by hydrogen cloud. So if we apply the assumptions that have been mentioned in the previous slides, what we can do is we can effectively convert this 3D model into a model which resembles a shape of a wedge, which is shown over here, a symmetrical slide. And then what we could do is we could use the input of oxygen from the left hand side of the computational domain, as well as input the hydrogen with the diluent, which is helium, from the right hand side, and allow the reaction to occur. uh, so once we have determined the shape of the computational domain, we go ahead and determine this we kind of model this in open form using block mesh, and then using block mesh utility, we develop the meshes. Uh, One thing to note is the mesh used over here is of uniform grid sizes, although OpenFOAM doesn't really do a good job in processing this. And this is partly due to the rendering limitations within the ParaView software, which is the post-processing tool, which has to be used with OpenFOAM. Next up, we'll talk about the governing equations. So the governing equations used are in conservative form, and the fluid behavior is considered similar to that of Newtonian fluids. Uh, the following two equations represent the equation of conservation of mass and conservation of momentum. One thing to note over here is the value of tau vector, which essentially represents a devioric stress tensor. And this devioric stress tensor for Newtonian fluid is given by this equation. Uh, Next up, we will talk about the next governing equation which has been used is that of governing equation of conservation of species. And this equation is given by this uh, as follows. And then what we need to note over here is the value of D over here represents the molar diffusivity. And this entire term represents the diffusive transport term. Ri is the chemical source term. Once we apply a unitary Schmidt number approximation over here, what we find is that the uh, molar diffusivity is equal to the stoichiometric coefficient, and the reaction rates, rate factor, and the chemical source terms are given by equations listed over here. So talking about the final governing equation that has been used in our case, it is that of the conservation of energy. And again, in this particular case, H represents the enthalpy, and the value of Q dot is that of heat of reactants. And for this particular case, we use the assumption or the approximation of unitary Prandtl number, which helps us determine that the value of thermal conductivity is nothing but the product of dynamic viscosity and the specific heat. The heat of reactants is given by this equation. Now, once we have the governing equations, what OpenFOAM essentially considers this is a closure problem. And for defining any closure problem, we need to link all the governing equations with each other. So this is where the role of equation of states comes up. Equation of states help us in relating different governing equations with each other. And these equations of states are given by these four formulas, where effectively rho bar is nothing but molar density, and Cp is the molar specific heat. So once we have defined the computational domain, we have described the uh, mesh which we are using, we have described the governing equations and the equations of states. Next, the final thing which needs to be done before using reacting foam to solve the problem is to define the chemistry schemes which effectively model the species dynamics. And for our work, we have selected three chemistry schemes where we have focused on deriving majority of our results, which is the one-step chemistry, four-step chemistry, and six-step chemistry. The reason for selecting these chemistry schemes is because we are primarily interested in determining the profiles of concentration profiles of major species, and we feel these three chemistry schemes do a really good job about it. So there is no more there was not a need to go into a much more detailed 21 chemistry scheme model, which was also available, as it has been found that for in every increasing order of reaction, the computational cost increases by a factor of n square. So this is the reason why we stuck with these three chemistry schemes. Uh, and the one-step and four-step chemistry reaction schemes are shown in the slides. Again, for the table of one chemistry scheme, the parameter capital A represents the activation energy, the term Ta represents the activation temperature, and the value of beta represents the uh, temperature exponential for the modified Arrhenius equation, which we saw in the same slides of the conservation of species. The final chemistry scheme which we used was the six-step chemistry, and as we can see from the slide, this is a chain reaction. And for any chain reaction, we have three steps, which is the chain initiating step, which is highlighted by this reaction. Then we have the chain propagating steps, which comprise of the following three reactions. And then we have the chain terminating step, which again consists of the following three steps, of the following two steps. Another thing to note over here is that it is once we run the simulations, it kind of becomes imperative to have a reference value in mind through which between which we can compare the theoretical and the simulation results. So based on, as we pointed out earlier, it is really difficult to run the entire simulation for the case of 100% hydrogen. So these were the different diluent concentrations of hydrogen and helium which were run. All these cases were tested, and from our studies we determined that the case of 30% hydrogen and 70% helium works the best. And this is the value of adiabatic flame temperature which needs to be kept in mind as far as the uh, comparison for temperature profiles comes up once we talk about the results. So I would just like you guys, every one of you, to remember this value because this is what we would use to like sort of use this as a benchmark for the comparison. Uh, Next up, we'll talk about the results. So results will be presented in two sections. The first section will talk about the results which we get from OpenFOAM simulations. And the second section will talk about the results which we get from coupled droplet model. Uh, the coupled droplet model itself will be explained in the section just before the discussion of the results which we get from it. So talking about the results from OpenFOAM simulations, as we pointed out, we tested 3 chemistry schemes. So results from each of those chemistry schemes have been presented. But again, what we need to know is all the results which are presented have been presented for a diluent concentration of 30% hydrogen and 70% helium with a blowing velocity of 0.0853 meter per second. The pressure used for our case was 1 bar, and the temperatures for the hydrogen and oxygen uh, gases was 100 Kelvin, because just so that it kind of represents the uh, temperatures which we'll get in cryogenic cases. And one more thing to note was that the diluent concentration of 30% hydrogen and helium, 70% helium was selected primarily because after for any higher concentration of hydrogen apart from this particular value, the species concentration profiles become impractical, and a blowing velocity of 0.0853 was selected because at this velocity we get the necessary mass balance between the OpenFOAM and theoretical values. Talking about the results, this graph represents the temperature profile result for the one-step chemistry. If one-step chemistry scheme is used for a time period of 1 second, and why we are showing the results for 1 second will also be explained in a few slides. So the graph over here shows the plot between temperature on y-axis in kelvins and the radial distance in meters on the x-axis. So what we see from here is that the temperature for one-step chemistry is close to 2600 Kelvin, which is almost very near to that of theoretical value, which we saw earlier, which was 2765.52 Kelvins. So based on the temperature profile, we see that the one-step chemistry does a fairly decent job of predicting the temperature in general. And for the molar concentration profile, we see that the left-hand condition, oxygen, sorry, is 1 over here on the left-hand boundary condition, whereas helium and hydrogen are represented from the right-hand condition. So this particular value represents the flame front. So oxygen kind of steadily goes down as it approaches the flame front, as well as the value of hydrogen and helium. And at the flame front, we see a peak in concentration of water vapor, what in the water profile which is formed. And this also readily goes down once it approaches the uh, right-hand boundary condition. One thing to note in mind, to note over here is that the value of water which is formed is 0.75. And this is like very close to theoretical values, which we figured using the NASA and NASA CAE run and Cantera OS, which are again OpenFOAM software, which are open source softwares. Next up, the chemistry scheme which was tested is that of four-step chemistry, and this is the temperature profile for the four-step chemistry. Again, what we see over here is that four-step chemistry doesn't model the temperature profiles really well, and the reason for this is because we couldn't find the values of activation energy, the activation temperature, and the value of temperature pre-exponentials, as we had those values available for one-step and six-step chemistry. So what we effectively did was to use those parameters from the six-step chemistry and model this reaction. So this is the reason why we are getting such discrepancies in temperature and species profiles for the four-step chemistry. And over here also, we can see that the water vapor which is getting formed is 0.85, which is slightly higher than that of theoretical values. So clearly we can see that the four-step chemistry doesn't really do justice and doesn't model the problem really well. Next up, the final profile which needs to be tested is that of six-step chemistry. And from the six-step chemistry profile, what we found was this was the best chemistry scheme which was modeling the entire process kind of matching the value of that of theoretical results, because as we can see from the the temperature profile over here, the value of the flame temperature is close to 2765, which almost matches that of the theoretical values. And the temperature versus time plot for various points within the computational domain for this 6-step chemistry shows us that the temperature kind of becomes constant after a point of zero point 0.7 seconds. So this is again the reason why we selected this particular, we ran all the simulations for a time of 1 second, primarily because of the results which we obtained on this slide. And we can clear the initial numerical instability is just because of the assumptions which vary with the various assumptions which OpenFOAM makes about the Lewis numbers, and that is how we get. So for all the simulation results which we saw, all of them have been run for a time of 1 second, and this is the reason why we selected one time equal to 1 second as the reason for running those simulations. And this is the species concentration profiles, and we can clearly see the water vapor over here is close to 0.75, which is like the theoretical value. And another thing to note over here is this part of a graph which kind of shows that the entire reaction occurs pretty quickly, which is similar to what we should be observing from the data which we have obtained from our collaborators in ZAM for the experimental studies, that the reaction progresses really fast and with a complete droplet lifetime of 136.5 milliseconds. So overall, based on the results itself, we felt 6-step chemistry is the best approach to model the problem. All this being said, OpenFOAM is not completely free of limitations, and the major problem with OpenFOAM comes from the fact that there is a unity Lewis number assumption, and this unity Lewis number assumption is sort of a knee-jerk in our approach to model higher concentration of hydrogen, because at higher concentration of hydrogens, we have seen that the flame temperature is getting over predicted by a huge amount. In some cases of 100%, for instance, the case of 100% hydrogen, we have seen that the flame temperature gets over predicted by a magnitude of 1500 kelvins, which is a very big difference. And in many cases, the diffusion process itself becomes very fast. So we see some absurd concentration profiles of the species also, which pop up in right in the middle of the computational domain. So all those limitations kind of forced us to look into another approach wherein we can get a solution to converge using the OpenFOAM model. So this is where the coupled droplet model approach comes up. And this model is like really unique, this is the first time which anybody has attempted to use this model. And what makes it unique is because we are using an essentially energy balance equation to get a solution between the results from OpenFOAM and the results from theory. So as we can see from the energy balance equation, the left hand side represents the results which we will get from OpenFOAM, and the right hand side represents the results which we will obtain from the theoretical values. One thing to note is that the value of dou T by dou R, which is temperature profile, is obtained from the OpenFOAM simulations using a probe utility in Paraview, in the Paraview software, which is the post-processing utility. And AR is the area of the droplet, which is essentially 4 pi r square. And kg is the thermal conductivity. For the right-hand side of the equation, we are essentially adjusting the transfer number to get the mass flow rate, which helps us balance this entire equation. In our case, the transfer number obtained was 4.4, which is what we should observe theoretically, because for typical combustion processes of fuels, the transfer number has to be between 1 to 10. So this is where all the theoretical value also matches that of the expected theory. The simulation values kind of matches that of the theoretical values. And the thermal conductivity of the gas is given by this equation, where Cp cap effectively represents the molar specific heat. Next up, once we determine the mass balance, what we do next is to determine the droplet vaporization constant, droplet lifetime, and plot the d square law. So the vaporization constant is given by this particular equation, and CPG is the specific heat of the gas, rho L is the density of the liquid, and BQ again is the transfer number. Following this, we determine the d square law, which is given by this particular equation. And finally, we obtain the droplet lifetime using this formula, where d naught is the initial droplet diameter and k is the vaporization constant. For the coupled droplet model, the chemistry scheme which has been used to obtain the temperature profile is the 6-step chemistry with a blowing velocity used of 0.0835 meter per second. The coupled droplet model is developed using MATLAB, and for all the theoretical values of H vaporization, the value of thermal conductivity, the references which have been used are the textbook by Bird and Turns. Talking about the results, this is the result which we obtain one for the d square law for the liquid oxygen hydrogen combustion. And from the result, we can see that the intersection of this line along the x-axis gives us the droplet lifetime, which is close to 1.21 seconds. And this droplet lifetime is a little higher than that of the results which we are uh, getting experimentally. In fact, this is an order of magnitude greater than the value which we are getting. But the reason of this could be because of the lower thermal conductivity value, which is assumed using the theoretical model. And then finally, the low temperature species profile, because it's quite possible the temperature profile which we had, which we used, had a temperature of 575 kelvins, which could be quite lower than what we are seeing experimentally, as the temperature should be a little higher. So those two could be the reasons. And using this plot, if we take a slope of this line, we effectively get the vaporization rate. And the vaporization rate obtained was 7.45 into 10 raised to power minus 4 meter square per second. Talking about another approach which was taken apart from the coupled droplet model and OpenFOAM was to use a new and upcoming uh, utility, finite volume utility, which effectively solves the combustion problems, which is that of OpenSmoke++, which is developed by the Craig modeling group at Politecnico di Milano. And specifically within this OpenSmoke++ framework, we tried to look into the microgravity droplet solver, just so that to figure out whether we could actually solve our problem using the current development stage where this solver is at. And what this solver effectively does is it is like really good, and it performs really well for some particular cases of liquid fuel combustion in air, but it doesn't really model the combustion behavior in cryogenic conditions. Additionally, it requires dilute nitrogen as the inert gas to run basic simulations, which is not what we are using. So effectively, once we realized these following limitations of this solver, we decided to shelve our approach and concentrate more of our time in developing the coupled model, which we talked about in our previous slides. So to finally conclude our talk, we would like to again recap some of the results which we obtained, which was that the concentration of 30% hydrogen with 70% helium is the best case for running the cases in simulations, primarily because at any other concentration which is above this value, we see impractical temperature profiles, temperature and species, more specifically species profiles, because the value of diffusion becomes uh, more because of the unitary Lewis number assumptions. The ideal blowing velocity of 0.0853 meter per second was established because it provided the necessary mass balance. Then again, as we highlighted earlier, the 6-step chemistry is the best chemistry scheme, as it kind of predicts the temperature and species values which match those of theoretical results. OpenFOAM uses a unitary Lewis number assumption, which is really bad and which kind of is the knee-jerk limitation, especially for this reacting foam solver, which we have used to solve our problem, because it over predicts the flame and species concentrations at higher values, which kind of restricts us to the concentration of 30% hydrogen and 70% helium. The simulations were run for a time of approximately 1 second because, as we saw in the slide, that for most of the points within the computational domain, the process reaches the steady state condition after a time of 0.7 seconds. Using the coupled droplet model, the droplet lifetime was found to be 1.21 seconds. The vaporization rate is found to be 7.45 into 10⁻⁻⁴ meters square per second. We effectively plotted the d square law, and then the final conclusion was that OpenSmoke++, and especially the microgravity droplet solver, which was attempted to be solved, which was kind of attempted to model the case of combustion of liquid oxygen droplet in hydrogen, kind of fails, and it doesn't effectively model the cryogenic combustion behavior that we are trying to model. That being said, we would like to make a few recommendations based on our findings. The first of which is to use a variable Lewis number solver in OpenFOAM, because Lewis number kind of effectively represents the relative rate of heat and mass diffusion as it has been shown in this equation. So if the Lewis number is incorrect, the time scales of diffusion and temperatures are mismatched. And this is the reason why we see such variations in temperatures and species profiles at higher concentrations. One good thing is that the combustion community in general has understood this, and they are working towards coming up with a better approach to kind of get rid of this limitation, as we have found by talking with a few people working on this similar problem in conferences, as well as by just talking to other community members, combustion community members, that there have been a few approaches in which people are developing new solvers, through which they can effectively model the combustion behavior with a variable Lewis number. For instance, I came across a solver by the name of reacting lay foam, which has been developed by a doctoral student in Aalto University only recently. Like it was, he kind of made it available on GitHub a couple of weeks back. So these are a few steps which are being taken by this community, and we hope that as far as using any open source framework, once these utilities are available, we can go a little more higher and model the problem correctly. Lastly, as we pointed out that in the earlier talk, that the goal was not to use an in-house solver, but to kind of establish whether any open source software in its current capability is enough to solve a problem. That doesn't look like the case. So what our focus now is to work on developing the existing code which our collaborators at XAM have, which effectively models the liquid fuel droplet combustion, and to convert this code to model the combustion of liquid oxygen droplets in hydrogen environment, in microgravity and cryogenic conditions. So some preliminary work has been started on this, and this is something which we expect to work over in the summer and publish a few and have a few results out of this work really soon. And this is something which will now be the focus of research as far as numerical modeling is concerned. So yeah, I would like to thank all of you for being here and taking out the time to listen to my talk. Yeah, I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. I think we can stop recording at this point.